Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep my introduction very brief because you've all heard enough of me through the weekend already. So all I really want to do is to introduce our speaker and my colleague Andrew Allison, who's going to talk about the BBC. I have to say, Andrew has started our AXA TV tax campaign. He's an absolute pro. He's doing a great job of it, making a real impact. And Andrew, I'd really like to thank you for the work that you've done on that. The BBC is a massive problem, in my opinion, in this country because of the sheer scale of its power and influence. It is essentially something approaching a state monopoly with access to a vast amount of cash. So I think it's a very serious issue if we're ever to get across the pro-freedom message that we want. It's very hard to do that whilst the BBC has the power it has. So I'd like, that's enough from me, and I'd like you to please give a big round of applause to Andrew Allison.
Just for the record, I was going to do that walk over the hot coals. We just didn't have time already to do this. So yeah, that's yeah, of course you do. Yeah. We had to wait a long time for the Culture, Media and Sport Committee, chaired by Freedom Association Council member John Whittingdale, to publish its findings on the BBC. I thought the day would never come. I had a feeling. I was speaking to a journalist about it, and said, I've got a feeling she's not going to report, but she's not going to agree on anything. But it was published last week. But the question I would like to put to you this evening was it worth the wait? Essentially what the committee recommended was a broadcasting levy on every household in the country, and that should replace the current licence fee. Now John Whittingdale sees this as a short-term measure to prevent licence fee evasion, but the BBC, of course, doesn't see it that way. Tony Hall, the Director General of the BBC, gave a speech earlier this week looking at the BBC's role in the internet era. Now, I genuinely do admire Lord Hall. He's proving himself a man who is up to the job of leading the BBC. However, in his speech, he said that if we didn't have a BBC funded by a licence fee, we'd have to invent it. He then went on to approve of a new broadcasting levy, hardly surprising. But it doesn't sound like a man who regards a broadcasting levy as a short-term arrangement in return for the abolition of the licence fee. He sees that as a long-term replacement. Now, John Whittingdale would like to see some form of subscription in the future. But like all senior management at the BBC, Lord Hall resists any other funding model other than compulsion. The Select Committee's report also favoured decriminalising non-payment of the licence fee, which sounds good on paper, but wouldn't a non-payment of a broadcasting levy then be a criminal offence? Because presumably the levy will be collected by councils as part of council tax bills. And if you fail to pay your council tax bill, eventually you will be dragged in front of the magistrate's court. You could then get a criminal record, and you could be sent to prison for up to 90 days. So surely the same would apply to any broadcasting levy that was collected through council tax. The committee's report also wants the BBC, in effect, to stop trying to be all things to all people. But again, that isn't Lord Hall's vision of the BBC. I'll just quote a little bit of his speech from last Monday. He said, "What other service, company or organisation can say this about itself? That daily it wakes us up, makes us laugh, makes us cry, makes us wonder, question, start conversations, come together, dance around the living room, despair at the world and celebrate great victories. Who else daily inspires us to try something new, thrills us, fascinates us, moves us, informs us, scares us, and then sends us sweetly off to sleep again? The BBC reaches 97% of us every week. We choose it 150 million times a day." And then he went on to say, "Just look at EastEnders. Its birthday week was watched by more than 20 million people. By the way, how brave was that to go live? And Thursday's episode led to over 1 million tweets, the highest ever for a UK drama. Now, those are not the words of a man who wants the BBC, or sorry, they are the words of a man who wants the BBC to be everywhere in everyone's lives. Of course, he's proud of the organisation that he leads, and he's every right to be so. But his vision of the future of the BBC isn't based on slimming down, at least not on programming. And in an article in the Daily Telegraph earlier this week, David Elstein, a respected independent film producer, said what we in the Freedom Association have been saying for some time. In fact, indeed, he could have been reading one of our reports, because he referred to Lord Hall's speech and said, "My view is that with the average viewer's consumption of BBC TV running at 8 to 10 hours per week, the chances of people, en masse, giving up EastEnders, Casualty, Countryfile, Bake Off, Antiques Roadshow, Top Gear, and even Pointless, not to mention Newsnight, Panorama, and an array of documentaries in order to save £12 a month is minimal." The BBC regularly reminds us that, at 40p a day, its huge array of output is a tremendous bargain. The trouble is that nothing is a bargain if you have no choice but to buy it. If the BBC really believed its own propaganda about 40p, it would embrace subscription without a second thought. That it is so viscerally opposed to subscription and to choice, a word rarely on the lips of BBC mandarins, is a reminder that its business model relies upon criminal sanctions to achieve success. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the heart of the problem. We don't have to pay for ITV. We have a choice whether or not we subscribe to Sky, Virgin, Netflix, etc. A basic Sky subscription costs £21.50 a month, or 70p a day, if you want to use that analogy, gradually rising to an eye-watering, I think, £71.25 a month, or £2.34 a day, for the all-singing, all-dancing family bundle with Sky Movies HD and Sky Sports HD. But for the sheer amount of channels available, it can be easily argued that Sky represents excellent value for money. But that's not for me to say, and I no longer have a Sky subscription. But if, at 40p a day, the BBC is tremendous value for money, then all of us would indeed embrace subscription without a second thought. And if the BBC wasn't so risk-averse, so would it. Thank you.
I always understood that the idea of keeping the BBC out of private hands was that one of the difficult things to do is to keep a high standard of television. And the only way you could do it would be to have the BBC, who would be excellent in all ways, and would lead the way for all the other television companies. Now, if you believe that is a good cause, then I think you should keep it up. But why on earth is there nobody in government or on the board of the BBC who can say what absolute rubbish they do turn out? Now, I'm not saying you don't want rubbish, but let ITV do that. I mean, the thing about the BBC, it was meant to produce good drama, good discussions. I can go on forever, of course. But it hasn't done that. It's gone for the pop idol sort of thing, which any of the ITV people can do, and do very well.
In fact, I think you get more of it through the radio than anything else.
Yes.
You could say that Radio 4 was genuine public service broadcasting. Yeah. I agree. I mean, one of the arguments you're right for keeping the licence fee at one point is that, well, you're not going to get fantastic drama on ITV or any of the channels. Only the BBC can produce this fantastic drama, and then ITV back in the 80s would come out with Brideshead Revisited, and they've come out with lots of great dramas since then. Downton Abbey was a huge success. So it proves that commercial channels can produce great drama, and it's still profitable for them. And in fact, ITV's profits are going up. So, you know, that proves that. There is a lot of rubbish on television, but of course, it's subjective, isn't it? You know, what some people think is rubbish, people think is just high-quality entertainment. But you pay your money and you take your choice with every other channel and every other broadcaster. But that's what you can't do with the BBC. And also, just one other thing, actually. It's just interesting to frame it this way. But if you want to enter into a contract with Virgin or Sky, you have to enter into a contract against your will with the BBC first before you can freely enter into a contract with Virgin or Sky. And that is the thing. It's a point I'm going to try and make over and over again, but you are forced into a contract with the BBC before you can freely enter into a contract with another company.
Do we think that the BBC presents us overall, over a day or a week or a month, with a really balanced view? Will they interview people with whose views they don't agree themselves? I don't know whether it's the interviewer or the programme runner or the top of the BBC, I don't know. But if you've got a viewpoint to make, which is not popular with them, can you get fair exposure?
Well, about climate change on the BBC, the BBC's rationale is that people who don't believe in climate change are just sort of, it's a small minority of people, they're just loonies. So therefore they don't deserve any airtime. On the general bias thing, I think that can be overplayed, because it is genuinely impossible to be unbiased all the time. It's not going to happen. Is there a left-wing bias at the BBC? Well, so many people have said it, and I think we all know that yes, there is. But if you look, well, when Question Time starts on a Thursday evening, if you go onto Twitter, you will see tweets saying, this is absolutely disgusting. The BBC, once again, have put a right-wing panel on Question Time. Then you'll read another tweet that says, it's absolutely disgusting. The BBC, once again, put a left-wing panel on Question Time, and it is the same panel. So it's the perception of it. But yeah, I mean, Lord Lawson, I think, is a case in point, where people are, he is prevented from talking about climate change. Man-made climate change is a BBC pet subject. It's one of the things that that's their editorial position. Man-made climate change exists, and anybody else who disagrees with it is disagreeing with the editorial position of the BBC.
That shouldn't be possible.
It shouldn't be, no.
And that's what makes it wrong.
Which is why it makes the BBC Trust completely ineffectual. That, in effect, was the only thing that the committee could agree on, the Select Committee could agree on, was that the BBC Trust should go.
Because if you go from that, you could start talking about Muslims, Christians, Roman Catholics, Jews, and you could take the editorial position that you didn't actually want to discuss or interview those of a certain persuasion.
As you may have heard, the BBC Three is switching to an online platform for about 2017 or 2018. I just wondered, do students seem very opposed to it? And even though online television is going up, why do you think they're opposed to it? And also, do you think BBC Three will actually switch to online, or there'll be some sort of platform where it is going to remain on television?
John.
John Fifield, what do you think will ever be the catalyst to change the present model from the BBC? We've had John Whittinger, one of our own, be chairman of it, and he's basically not moved it on, or been unable to get the committee to move it on. We're still looking at some sort of form of compulsory levy, call it what you like. I would be in favour of subscription. Yes, would. But what's going to ever deliver that?
Will it move online only? Probably. It's got to go through the BBC Trust first, of course, but I think it will get rubber stamped. But then they had the debate. The Select Committee had the debate on what to do with that channel number. And I think the committee said, there's such demand for these channel numbers, and I think, well, yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. But they were thinking about having a BBC One plus one, as you would have ITV plus one, Channel 4 plus one. But they're thinking that may not happen, because that would give the BBC an unfair advantage over commercial broadcasters in being able to repeat its programme again, which I find rather bizarre in this internet age, considering you just go straight onto iPlayer and watch it. So that seems a bit strange. Moving on to your point. Well, this time last year, nobody was talking about the abolishing the licence fee. Not seriously. It looked like the Royal Charter was going to go through. Everything would be rubber stamped. But a lot of us have entered into the debate and tried to raise the profile. Andrew Bridgen, Conservative MP for North West Leicestershire, was the one who proposed decriminalisation of non-payment, and I was quite surprised that he got so much cross-party support, because he did. That put that onto the agenda, I mean, since then, you have got a number of commentators coming out opposing the licence fee. Nick Ross, a former Crime Watch presenter, has done that. You've got a number of newspapers, the editorial position of the Times and Sunday Times, Telegraph, Sunday Telegraph, and the Sunday Express to abolish the licence fee. So you're getting a lot of people going behind it. Now, Sajid Javid is a damn good culture secretary, and he is pretty much, you can tell, on our side of the argument. Yeah, he wouldn't lose any sleep if the BBC moved to a subscription service. But of course, as you approach a general election, no one is going to seriously criticise the BBC apart from the usual suspects. And that's exactly what you've got. That is why everything's been kicked into the long grass. And it just requires the political will. After the general election, obviously a number of MPs will stand down and others will be elected and seats will change hands, and then it'll be interesting to see what the composition of the House of Commons is like. It just requires a lot of campaigning. I mean, people who know me know I'm a bit like a dog with a bone, really. I just don't give up. You just got to keep on campaigning over and over and over again and build up support. And opinion polls say that the country's split. Roughly about 50% want the licence fee to go, about 50% are comfortable with it. But out of the 50% that are comfortable with it, the vast majority of them want it to be reduced drastically. So we've got public support.